Jensen I akonat lähetti tekstiviestin miljardöörille. Hen halusi vain pukansa loptavanit kamaisen. Kello oli joeli pulniern, kilmayanto hetki, jolin jopol kona olva kopunki tuntui pidativan hengitistien. Miristui asuntansapinin kadiern lachla jalat rinta vasten, voven pedo hardiaden imperille. Valat olivet samnit I sixi, edda hen alisi halanat paimia von koska sekaritir I tainit myrtetten tapuheluida. Noer itki makuhunessa, hen tudipulansa oli alat tena iltana animixin vede. Miriridi alla katsameta tihia aden medonkorvek perkia tiskale. Hen adi puhilimensa vapaisvin kessen pukalo velgensa ittistidin paele. Ben oli otnat amen I ilisesti muda oli. Hen I halanat kaisia udalin. Muda tena iltana I alat kais ilpadeste. Kais oli vovesta joke I imutenet, mixi henen vatsansa saki. Hen joidi, ben olin pahilani edda hayritsen sinuataz, tarvitsen 50 delaria aden medonkorviksin. No on melkin alkona, san palkani pergentana. Maxen sinal takizin kiitos, henen pukulansa terasi kun hen paina lehitapena keta, hen I tarkistnet numero udalin, hen I adas katsunat naime, hen vain laski puhilimen alas painat sansa palvalinyao dadi, viasi minutia myrhemen henen puhilimensa surasi. Lulan edda tarkatit lehite sen jolikan tizel, mir repiti silmian nausi istamon tardui puhiliminatui jadi kohuasan. Iksi vera numo, hen laheti vistin tuntamatamau, henen vetsansa muljadi, olin pahilani hen joidi. Ella vasta vera numerun, hen lukitsi natern heidi puhilimen sivunyaveti paten tiukamen imperilin, yelin iksi epionistumainen lissisi kasa. Kalman cordalin paisa katohunistin ilimista karaksesta jostaneki puolit kopingista Jackson Albrecht tuijadi vistia ixitius puhilimasan. Hen I koskan antnet teta numeroa. I ladisturl I apu avain per, yachu lista oli lientinit joke of uosi. Textivisti I alat raskapostia, si I alat hujaus, si oli rakaya 8. Henkatsu vistia udalin luki rivian veliste, no on melkin alkona, san palkani pergentana. Si I alat vain piantur, si oli aidi joka nuvateli oman arvkutensa kansa, sinan alasi pitnit yedia si humiata, using pina toina hen alasi tainit nian, sen sijan hen joidi takizin, anko vovasi kanasa, mirtujadi vistia, milanin mukalainen jak kachulazin vistin lehitimiste, henen simanin vastansa oli estia gente, mudajakin kaisamixisa sina kuinka exinkertesisti si oli esitidi, si henet paisitimian. Mi selvium hen joidi, antixi vila karen, voinata kului vastaus I sidau muxia, hener visti ani, kiitos muda en oda raha tuntamata milta, fixua politica, olin and YT Jackson, en ol mukalainen, hen I vastan nut, hen kinudi no hen takizin anin. Heniki hilja selizista surasta jokai tulivain rahatamudesta von siata edeon kilistinit rahatamutin. Ya sitin hen teki jatain mida hen I koskan uskonat tekavense. Hen laheti henel venmo kortensa. Call me sekunsha myrhemen henen puhilimensa surasi udalin. 50 delaria vastanot to Jackson Albretilta, mir istui yehmatinine. Hen repiedi silmian kodisti avasi sovaluxin yatarkisti udalin. 50 delaria, temeon liaka, hen joidi tarvitsin vain 50 delaria, si on jo sinan, I midian moitatava, ixi asia vehemen muradidava, hen I itkinit kun henet desanitian. Hen I itkinit kun he takvarakoivet henen autansa. Hen I itkinit kun nohin isa yeti henet humedixin edda hen oli raskana, mudatema mercy henet, henen ketten saterasivet, kiitos, en adas tide mida sanoa, sinan I tarvitsi sanoa midian hen vastasi, pide vain huolta nohista, ya sitten hen humasi sen, hen I koskan kurtunat henel pukansa naime, mir I sonat unta. Adas sen yelkin kun noa vitun nukati tidala vatsalon hitistin hengitistian penian rohalisian henkixian, hen istui taisen hirala patjansa rianala pidalin puhilinton kuin si voici kadoda, hen luki siertaniadern udalin, 50 delaria, ihesiele, ihet todalainen. Itkin hen vain tuijadi side, miedi yaaskalsiaskoa, ede kaisise alat hujaus, ede si alat sierdi johonkan sinkimpen, ede tememukalainen, tememais joka katsuitsian jacksonixi, akonat tada myrhemen jonkin hiljas palvaluxen. I miset evet vain lehita tuhansia dollarita tuntamadamil. Anakan haiden I alasi tarvanat lehita henel. Hen avasi haiden keskastalansa udalin ya selili takazin vihmisin vistian. Bide vain huolta nohista. I emoja I eperurantia vainixinkertainen varmus, si palati henta night, kunka varmasiata edanove kuditele zelta normalilta, hen joidi jotin poisti sen joidi udalin poisti udalin. Lapulta hen joidi, sinan I alasi tarvanat tada nian. Hekki kilyu sitten toinen, henen puhilemensa paisi paimene, hen hukasi hidasti melkin help tunina. Eke hen oli paisit etinpen. Eke si todella oli kurdliuntinen saduma ya hen voicivain tiskanele, ede midian tapatunut, puhilin surasi, tiden et haluzin, kopingen tizela puhilela Jackson Albrecht najasi noctulin joke I alat kurdakan chunat henel mukvalo, hen oli ehet toimastassa, hen jäi aina myrhän. I siksi eda hänen alasi pako von koska kodia en tuntunut kodilta. I sen jälkeen kun hen oli sulknet adjtuksen pois. Hänen katojunastansa laseisenet hijstivet horisontia kuin malaus. Kilme kalis tihia, hänen puhelemensa surasi taas. Miksi audesit koltestani imiste, et edas tun minua. Hen tuijadi senoja pidenpin kuin alasi pitnet. Usemet hanel vistia lehetnit halusivet tavaroida, companuxia siji tuxia palvoluxia joskas vacutus volta. Teme olian simian incurred a pitkin akon, kun joku kaisi rehelesti mixi hen validi. Joten hen kurd henel taduden, tai enikin asen siete koska alapa karen jokwa minua veka henen I alasi tarvanut, in ol koskana notnut side. Surasi tako, sitten haluan maxasinol takazen, henen kolmakarvansa kohasivat, minka takia, kavan takia, ustaveliciden takia et yetnit minua humiata, vilaxi isku, selvaten sen jacksonin luca puristui heman, hen I pietenet enimpe. I vichinut tarvitsavansa tyrte, vukratai midian muda, hen pitlia heilpatan molmila kesalan. Jopa hakusan henkanioidi sida odot to enemen, niempehen lahedi vila ihtin vistin, kero minol milista edin medonkor vicetano tarvitsi, haluan lehite licia, I raha tarvicata, mir eperi vain josi todele vadi sidau muxia, minan naudita sidau muxia henvastasi, sinut ovet I misin lakemis de vart. Suravana amuna mira heresi oven coputuxin, henin sidimense paisiti, kukon I koskan kopatanut, I teale. Ukrainen tajala hedi tekstiviestin jan opurit tuskin katsuvet henin, hen vedi hupperin pelin keveli hilja ovelja kirkisti ovisreiste, lehitisaten univormun pukutunut koljataja pitli nelia voltvalada koa, mida imita hen avasi oven hidasti, lehidis mira jensenil hen kaisi mira nirkasi mykisti, elekerjoidis tehen hen elekerjoidi, hen avasi ladikat iksi carolon olohunen lachla, kedit terasivet. Edin me donkor vicata ve poja vovimpiakete tadapoloja liumusos poseja jopa vateta. Evet halpoja merkachutatacon. Celesta tavra neki vain Instagramidala joila oli titleinen valistis ya liaka vapo eka. Aven pojamilton oli pini kurjakuari. Hen avasi sen hidasti. Henin pidiasi sada tarvit samansa. Noa ansatsi param pakuin tuskin payete. Jackson cni alat lagoa I pilipsiteta I midian kanoa yeljate mistesi oli tilatu. Vain alekerjoidis hoda hen I tunisnet mihilte hota hen I alat adas nehnet. Muda hen tunsi sen renaissance. Temen audan epivermin lemern joka oli josin kiatolisudin ya epilin velile. Kuka teme mais oli, ya mida hen todela halusi, mirai kosknet lodikohin tuntakaja. Niistuavet olohuinen nerkasakuinen essa, josta hen I halanet herite, no oli nukatnet henin siliense lempamin pulin yelkin. In simiisen tiden kalmin peven, ike mir alat likanat sen yelkin. Hen venistui sin atujatin pukancerinte ken nausui alaskir miechen milizin milmon hen juria steli, hen I alat naivi. I miset evet titalasia sioida, evet ilman kukua, evet ilman cameron pyramiste. Muda I alat viralividiota I kuidia vain hilje suda. Ya taz sinimi Jackson, I kavanilinen, mira adi puhilimensa ya avasi selimen, hen eperuri, hen I halanet tidia muda henin oli pako tidia hen kurjoidi Jackson Albright. Chalaxet latituvet nopamin kuin hen oli valmastatunut, Jackson Albright helix court industrisin toimatus jotaja. Netaverlisus 118 miljardia delaria, ixitanen technologia moguli and tinen armaja mediarca leski I lapsia, henin vats son muljadi, teme I alat vain joquintilias mukalanen, teme oli hen miljarduri joko misti puolit tekalekaten patentesta, si hoda toimatjit kutsuvet avamogulixi, koska hen veltili hostidaluja kuin ratoa, heniste oli verkasavain kalmi verlista cuva, kaiki vacavia ya levatomia. Ibdisa hen kevali ulos senat in kulamistalaesudesta kilman silman ya luca pura stetuna. Mais vena lenet toisasamal massa, hen rakensi sen. Jot mixi hen lahedi hen el textivistia. Mixi hen lahedi 50 dolari vovtarvacate en azel, jalai alat tire te iodaway of utavacato. Merin kedit tersavet heman, kun hen klakasi vistike ju udalin. Hen tujadi mi hen vimista vistia. No ansatsi parampakuin tuskin payamisen. Si I kulastinat miljardurilte. Si kulasti jolta kolta joka oli alat lehila nelkakulma ike koskana notinat side. Henker joidi eperuri apene sitten lehitanapia, mixi todelatit temen mais I vastanat hedi. Hen odadi 10 minutia sitten 20 ya henin sidimense penui pojan, eke mais kadui side, eke hen tajasi ede hen alat sen arvanen. Henin puhilimense viften city koska tiden miltitantu menite joku hodivoi pelista, ya koska ivdin kan lapsen I pidiasi koskan tuntia selista tuska. Hen tuijadi noida senoja tiamistinene, ni evet alit kopenkentin peru stuvia. Ni evet alit myerskan runolija, ni olivet vain tada yani sattivet, en halua salius I henvastasi, si I ol sali at mais san, si on tunistamista. Mira najasi pansa sanian ya sulky silmansa. Hiden velilen oli hetkin hiljesus, sitten hennen puhilemensa surasi udaling. Tietker turita, chu kaisamis oswi kuin pisto, hen melkin I vastanut, mina vastasin kuns noa yarides menavet conkursin ya pevicodi johan minala olivera solgetian jotna injurian whitey, mike oli alasi biochemian tutkamis, pe asiasa diagnostica. Alin harjitelajana novajanilla and nqin asiat mutkastuivat. Alitko tutkamuksesa, nian mutta asan myers pestivisoja tadalatate ialaski viroja joida and pisti maximon. Hen I oditnat vastos to see hen mutta misaleti henet. Tuli helix coring humana clo 11 kaisi ava, I toja vain keskastelu, mir repiti silmia, tarjoko minal tire peka, tarjan sinal modelisudin ada ixi takazin. Mira I alat keskastan tomistator nisales katin vutin. Vimsikan hen kevali irtixin alan, henele oli korko kenget, jakka ayutivet rakoja varpisian, yarintamerki jasa luki veliakin in urakoitsija. Tenian henele oli ilian pudimet farkunsa, kerpudorilla canidi puseria blizeri, jonkavetokju hen I alat avanet sitin raskatensa. Hen adi tiukaman ati no hen kant kapastia stui pyrivian lasiovian lepi. Helix corin ala I alat linkan selin in qin hen odati. I marmoria I ego avain pudat linjet korki kadat yahiljan in tehakus joka sai henet tuntaman itsin sahedi alapukutunexi. Vastanad verkiliginosti katsin sahenen lestiasien. Hi olin mir jensen. Olin telita pamasa ava. Nazen kasvat loistavet velatur mistatanastamai sesta. Mikahe ritsi hente enemin qin hen halusi myrnte. Tada kai sinua odotan. 37. Karos needy lin tapasinat hisale, mir repiedi silmian. Odot tua, hen sirasi palkua hisal katsit harhilan sanale olvian loghin lasin takana olvian palkin tohinya pakin hiljazin mutta vilkasin energian. Teme I alat startup joka tiskanteli olvansa take, teme oli take. Si hin menese kun hisin ovit liukuvat aki ilamese kerksesa, henin sidimense hakasi. 945 ushas nainen, jala oli siliat mustat hiixet ya tableti kedisan, turvedi hente lempamele mudem time zela heimele. Mira olin avalin her albraitin esikunt peliker. Hinantela hetkalikakuksissa, mutta paisi minua estilimin sinal huneta ya vastaman modelisin kaisimixisi. Mira sirasi hente k tevele, jonkaria nustavet lasatoimistat ya hinaverizet turvkamerat. In ol varma mikateme on mira sana lapolta. Koko teme tuntusilta qin alasi yejestidi vitsikomedia, ava heimili, hera albreit I kurged of vitsikomedia, hin teki tarkuda, he paisi tivet tilavan kakushunin etin josta oli nekame horizontian, hen paisi minua natimian temen sinal and sin ava sani avetesan oven, sisile si I alat tire tila. Si oli taisin kalistedu lastenhuon pinasenki narkasa pini hoida purita pame tematoja leluja jopa pimenus verhot, mirin kesi lensi henin sulin, avanaani oli pamia, hen agiteli edesi voisi ada sinua tuntaman alosi mukavamexi. Mira stui sisian sidin te sekevene, huon I alat kali sinense, si oli huamavinen. Jokinen ixitiaskoda sani selvesti idin Asian, joku oli kinit nit huomioda, hen kanti takezan avon mixi, avan katsi pidi kieni henin katsistan, koska hen tidy miltatuntu kevala sisian ixin, mirai tinit mida sanoa ava haimili hemen, haluisitko kavia 20 minutia myrhemen miristui pinamese kakushunesa chuor muki edisan, noa nukui kantor pusa henin virasan. Ovi avtui hiljayahen nosti katsin sajuri kun Jackson kevali sisian. Jacksonin nekamainen henkalerko tezestive kudi henin kovmin qin hen odati. Hinadi tesmalin samalta qin velo kuvisa. Pitke rahalainen kalis mutta joten kan totalisempi. Vesanet silmet heman paramparta. Mais joka oli rakentnat imperiumaja mutta ialat heimulit pitkin akon. Mir hen sana qin si alasi maman lunalis in Asia, kiitos edechalit. Hen sasa qzalisti epivarmana siate meditate kesalan. En alat varma pidiasakur minan, chalit joka tapaksesa sion takente, hinistui henin vastpatayela pudi kainaversion puridele. In en qin puhum mistan musta haluntada Asian selvixi, et ol minal midian velka, temi ol ko en ol telepelstamasa sinwa, en usko hiventekavisiiten mutta uskan I misin siji temasin, miratui jadi hente, mixi mine. Jackson Katz alas hetkin, sitten illers. Koskanen jonkun jokai pitanet oikotaida jokai oditnut midian joka oli valmis olman ilman midian en qin antilastinsa cassia. Ya koska liutazen selizin I misi milita hansa. Mirtunsi kirkunsa curastuven. Hinliudi kanshin puriden ili. Mary kanan tire 3 kukota talis tilantarkestis tuki joustvet tirajet, tire skently paken pelatai etne. Alkon enemen qin kodulainen ya jasi I sovi voit kevala, I kaisamixia, miravasi kanshin ya repiedi silmian tarjos rivale olva numeroa kodi. Si oli enemen qin hen ansatsi kudasa kukdasa van hasa tire san. hen katsa hente, temeon tata, sion, hen vilkesi alas no hin ya sitten takizin jacksonian. In telastin hun, hen heimili tuscan lankon, myers tata, hetkini venus tuavet siena hilja imutan. Lapolta mira nirkesi karen, hivixin sen, mir ilmasti in simiesna virilisna pevini and iliane noa business casual asu, hoda henai alat vila lojnet vim talvin view krapani kinekana, houset olivet heman tiukamek kun hen muisti, mudani napaitin ya sirieti, hen pidi hiexensa tox veditiene, make ye minimalisti ya livadi rekenuxi noa pamia se harmasavarter and hasa rintansa vast, kukon I tuijatnut. Zialeti henet, hen odati pulixi civusilmia kuskoxitai kodaliita muda kilmia hymia. Muda vastanatiskala olvananen tavati henet turvitalixi ustivilis latavala, aven kun hen alisi tireskenalit ciela aemin. Hisi ilimpan kerksin avtui hedi kun hen lesti. Avatapasi henet kavi jo kedasan. Nohin pake on valmis, avasani eperurmida hetkikin talitisan hente ke tavia pitkin. Ya sinan on aven lasin tezela pulela. Sinalon tasi pasi sisiasin yegistolmin. Siata sinwa, karo minal jos kodat angelmia, mir repiti silmian, siena kaiki, ava hymili, siena kaiki, tomisto johan henet paistedian oli vadametan mudatailikes, levia tirpurite kaxi naturianian ergonoman chuoli edisitantui huja miselta, henin takanon lasin and velesin and naidi lastin hunesin. Noa jo ye hivistili matala oval pamapelicoil. Tidemetermenasiate, cuincarajasti henin milemansa oli muchinut, mira istatui hidasti alas kedit nepimistern pale. Henai alat tireskenalit ili vutin. Henai alat kosknet sisiasin tarkastasigistelmen vimisen projtinsa yelkin en atiaslama. Sen joke I koskan valmistunut, koska irides mini conkursian ilman veritusta. Muda kun hen avasi postalata kansa, tarkasteli titistohik mistoja ya haki easy en iritixen tarkastuslikit jotin tudua liaku henin renaissance. Henin avansa napsatavet takezen vohtian, hen taisi mida etsia, lehtertlantin poikimat. Lehitedigen ya varmanedigen laskugen velile oli epijoden muke suxia, sisiasen seer togen kavoja, jotka evet vastanit projktatoimenta. Si oli quen vanhen soitimen harjamista pois ya sevelman muistamista. Hen tireskinteli hilja ilitunen ya paisiti vasta humadesan jonkan saseven toimistans olcapuolela. Jackson henelai alat tenian pucuilian vainmustanapaitava peta hihet kairidiene ya luriset hausat. Nadi edelin silta quen hen alasi kulinat latin. Sanko hen kaisi, nainen nirkesi, teme on sinan iritixisi. Henastui sisien vilkesi lasin lepi nohi ya kanti sitten henin naturense, asituin aloileni. Ok, enol vila rikonat midian nainen san, anasil aka, hen vernistian en quen siatsin setajtua, hen katsanatura, alat jo tesmiadiscansiasa, agtelin aloita kalman en nelinexen rapportesta, to mataji maxuis on mutami epijoden uke suxia jotka evet vasta projtidai toja, Jackson calista paytan, lurisikker senjo. Nainen kohadi alkapatan, ni evet ol hiven pialasa, henin ilmin semudui I ilitinit von jotinkin adchelavazempi, tantuiko sinasta jokin hen kaisi, mira eperuri, olin alat yegistel mesavastatunin mudaju joko joku pyra yegitermelatavala tai joku pilata jotin medalin tox, Jackson and Luca yeniti heman, sinan I tarvitsi kaivavila civilte, aloit apinin tasutamai sesta, selve mira san. Paitsi eda antipinin tasutemista. Hen nirkasi karen, en minikan sitten hen kanti ya kevali ulos, sina iltpevene avatolaunansa kaisamede, grillatu kana poditujikas vixi yetide, mira oli puramasa keskanan consisiisen vistin katakuliping, paitien tema vain maiden velesne, jos luridit jotin mikainato kelta chusi suron minol, I kenalekin mul I adas aval, imeretker, mira tui joti natura. Odotako minan luritivan jotain, odatin sinan nekavinasioida, joidamut evet ne. Hen najasi toxipain chulasan yakats lasin lepi nohia. Temenaki kepertina pini pamoluluan ala. Orinko valis henin histansa pamiat rianat. Yan simistik kurd akuksin mirai tuntnut juksavansa malman parase. Hen oli kuramas umpina roa taeka viftunus tumas oikin pekon. Tazela vikalan helix kororesa mira oli lunat ritman. Amu alki mustala kavilla. Sudal malanohin atsal yahil jazela lupixella paisia edela midita hansa, chilevi sudan karivia cantade. Hen sapi akazin. Ilinsa en ava joskas jopan en jacksonia yatarkisti aina en sin nohin voinen. No oli soputunat lastin unesi nopmin quen mirtomistunsa. Jokapeva hen lurisi henet nurkas de vetuvan pamalent rihmin yalapataman, mayran lumuvilipiloja kansa. Mirasida vastin oli upautunat laskintatalukhin. Lakatayadi hin ya datapalkuhin. Hen I pitnit teda tirta pelstaskaraitne, hen pidi sida tadavene. Si oli inoa top ajala hen asasi tireskinala tarkasti hulalaisti a keskatinisti joka sulki kaikin munal kapulel, pergentiiltpaven menisa hen lurisi sen, si I alat savuava as, si I ol koskan alat, muda siene oli tidy kava, sama toimetajan nimi toistui jury sapavasti. Samat veitalivet, aina sisiaisen tarkastuksen kinasarvogenalapuhulela, mutta niillä kekilla oli ittinen autopira. Ni olivat sidiksissa olmatomian projtikudehin. Miranajtui lehemes ne turin ja tarkisti Asian. Toimatajai vastanat midian totalista asistoa. Ja silti maxat oli kesaithti. Hiviksidi ja hilja hoditutusanen lelaisen tapatumana 1 $200 taile, 2 $400 chuala. I koskan tarpiksi helitist lokizemisin, mutta tilikodan ekanani kasantuavat. Mirakopioi toimatajan kuden iksitisin kansiun ja alkuristian vieta. Maxat evet menit milikentavlaisel k turtalil. Ni riedaitin kalmanen ospulan holdingiftiren kadadeluresa. Miratonisti rakentin hedi, si oli kuari, paperilla leilainen koskamatin ilman korkiman tassen paisia, henin vatsan securisti. Joku helix korin sicilea mescali varoja hidasti strategisti yahi olivet hivia pilotman sen lian hive. Hen I soitnat aval, hen I kitkinit telosta toja sisien. Hemuisti Jacksonin vistin selvesti, chusi suron minol, I ketian muda mirakopio tidestop muistidikal salasi kanshin ya sujati sen lokunsa, sitten hen la hedi henel vistin, tarvitsen viasi minutia, sion teke. Jacksonin toimastasta oli nekamet ili pulen kopunkia. Ikanat ulatuvat lachista katun muda verhat olivet veditiana, hen entire peritanse oli iliteven tihia. Iksi tableti nakinen muistikerja kaistidi valokuvahiman sania kodi kanatna, hen vilkasi illers kun nainen astui sisien. Lurisit kerjatain, hen san I kaisatine. Mira nirkesi ya ogensi henel kien tolven. Zidiol vavastedu muda siriata heritamian kaisamixia. Hen kitki kien tolven naternse sivunya selili. Mira cats, kunka henen ilmin se muduian sin heman sitten sivani ya keskati. Atikko temen kalmanelta nelinexulte, killa mudasi kata amat nelinexit. Toimatajai ol massa. Maxat kolkavet delores sigitseven curidalin kata, pinempian laskujan paidasa. Jackson najasi toxipane ya hukasi nenen se kata. Alit oikisa, sion pudas, lian pudas, mikatarke ta ede kukata hansa sen taki tunti yegistelmen, tunti sen hiven Jackson san, todneka reistia sunitelaman kontrolamkinismit, miraristi kesavartensa, epilit jo jotakin, hen katsa hente, olin surinat lukujan agelatimistivam viewden lapastaleshin, mutteren ol sonat kedian rahituzalalta jotaman side, lian hinavarista lian help oselite pois. Joten mixi en adesi ulcapulista irritista mucon, hen eperuri, en tide kehen voin luata, miratunsi sen laskutuvan rintunsa kuen paino, hen imiasi chulezen aristetinasiiden selesen jokachuli kun hevasi liakayaluati lian nopesti, sianta sinat si sinat arvaman kaikin kaiki midanwite hen kaisi, haluan sinan jakkavan Jackson san, jakka kaivamista muda hilja. I nimia I seker postapalkuja ya jos joku kaisi alit edeline tesmiadames et tostirgistelman laskutusta toja. Mirkalista paytan, paidet minua tutkaman ama irritistesi, paiden sinua luritimian totodin, hen pidi henin katsinsa, ya jos luridin jotin ruma Jackson I repiatnit silmian, sit mi hoidem sen, sine urna miramakasi hirla tuja in katoa, noa keperti henin kilkian vast. Hen toisti keskastelua milisan ihe udalin ya udalin irritan ravastella si hen takertuva levitamuda, hen I pelanit kaivamista, hen I aidas pelanit sida mida hen sadisi lurite. Eniten hente huel study si mida hen oli jo nehnit Jackson in Kasvila. Jackson taisi jo, hen I vain halanut myrnte sida. Siravana amuna mirharisian inheritis kaloan I kulixin henenit kujan von hiljesutin. Selizin hiljesutin joka tuntui raskalta. Hen tarkisti henen pinasenkin se joka naku ihe kedit panelapuolela. Henen hulan sa puristedwan apinin ripistixin kuen hen alasi kivarainen nuvitelaman an elmian sa kansa. Mira harjasi hampeitan kade iern levuarissa. Henin kilpihun sahana oli alkanet view to udalin, muda hen I alat soitnet huel tun. Hen I halanet viareta I misiatilan. I in white tea. I silin kun hen oli osajatin mida hen tuskin imiasi. Kello 7.3 hen oli jo tire puritan se erisa 37. Kerksesa tarkastella masi yelling toimatajan lakadai toja. Tele kurda hen kaivi sivamel. Sifon kur hoja vastanadavela curi tirle oli nimi. Trinox Solutions LLC. Sile I alat henel midian mercatiste. Muda kun hen kevi vertonistinsa lepi avoimesta irritis registeriste, osate kuitasi keskastan postalatic yetterlingen yalistasi idin anon toimatus jotagen. Ijol kija nimia vain irides joka oli erikoistunat anonymititin salidamisin. Mira najasi toxipane, sormit puristine kavamukion. Teme I alat mikien laska kavalis. Huka tahansa temen takana alakan, hen oli sunhidalit sen paisivan humamadamana vuosian agen. Si I alat anuda, si oli sunat to rierstura. Kello 9.06 Jackson Kevili henin tomistunsa kapitameta. Kurmaroya hen sanin en kuen Jackson 80 istutua. Mais nasti kolmakarvansa. Lurisit sen, si unversto cuori, iti entirentakia I ol rekister ruritinit lakamihin kata. Yeljitin nelia erlista maxwatese kusa jokka oli reatidiri asistogen budgetchin kata kaikia levadamustim ukesuskinist, si unhinastunat ia tarka, Jackson I sononat midian, hen naidi tas vesinelta aven qin hen I alasi nukanut, hen insalmiansa oli vinasia puhilin oli hekedisan, sinuntaidi pidiatema vein omalakonalasi hen san, I varmuscopioida I olkoija sirtoja. Mira nirkesi yanajasi sitin heman etinpen, Jackson kuinka koan alit epilit tede, hen katsa henta lukatioka, tarpixi koan tidiaxin ede kukata hansa temen takanon I velita iritixista titela tireskintaleviste imisiste. Luletko ede joku lehizasion kaisise, tiden edeon, mira eperuri. Mixi et ol menet halituxin puhe, koska anikin kaxi heiste on varentunut. He ovet jo sulkanit idin sisiaisen tarkastuxin, Justin varen siren sirayete, mirin kirku kerni kirkastui. Mixi minne, Jackson istitui lapulta henin vastapete, koska et ol kenelek in tela midian velka et kapelatal helpoa. Tapa jalahen san I alat amartalu si oli tata, tuntui kuin joku alasi viftin nenet henet, I vain aiden, I vain selviatimista irriteven nazen von henet. Teraven hiljazen voiman joka hen olian en kuin alema luri henet nian luja edisi yeti yelkia. Haluan nata sinal jotkin Jackson san, hen vedi takistan kanchan yeliadi sen purid and illy, nanan avasi sen, kasvat tuijodavet henta takizan, noin 45 vushas sisti tuka tylikas puku neutrali jaime, Vincent Harmon Jackson sana, talaus jotaja mira yehmati, olin kulat nyman iker nian. Henet palkatin kaksi vuada sitten sen yelkin, kun edelainen talaus jotaja erosi odatameta. Henej lepi mutaxi sisisin yejistolmium, anti omal timalin ixinamizin valvanan tidiahin asistohin ya poisti hilja usada ristiantarkast sprotokalia. Kukon I repiatnit silmia, koskahen teki sen vadamustum ukesudin verda vivastamisen nimise, mirror sulky kanchan. Luletko eda henon sen takana. Tiden eda henon muda sen tadastaminen sion vakin osa. Haluatko minan luritivan halkiman, jury nian, miranirkesi hidasti, yakun luriden nian milikum, hinausi lehtiexin muda paisiti ovikun. Moot no hilon view koja lastinunesa, hen repidi silmia, mid hen pidi avstajlani lunan island kun tema iridi ada henin kuravin, si oli nelia herpertiste yakultava katsi. Miranorian en qn hen 80 piditela itzian. Jackson Heimili, pini kilnat Heimi ya sitten hen oli poisa. Sina iltapevene mira tireskinteli launan ajan, hen teki lisia asumia, ristaviatasi sisiasin muistuohin. Hen lurisi ivden sekerpostek jun, Jossa Vincentin avstaja piasi hinkin talokian ohit usakuta joden tilantarkastuxin valmastelan varjala. Pevamira tesmasi en simiasin kurjatun sirtun trinixil. Hen kopioi sen, salasi sen yalisisi sen kasvankensiun Jossa oli merkinte tedist. Kel 17 menisa henin silmansa curvalivet. Hen veniteli kevali lastinunesin yaistadi pamia nodchulin nohin pinasingin virin. No atorqui tas pukulo susan toinin kesi edeline puristin lelukuravan hentia qns seta. Mirla pudi peitin chulin selkanaja vastin, oli hiljasta turvalista. Hen I alat oli tuntnut nian pitkian akon, yasi pelati henta enemin qin mikian mu, mirayanea koskan lieutenant hiljasutin. I lastin huanesa I hissase ike totala contadudin pilatamisin rakin edugen iritisi gestelmian sicile. Koska hiljasus tarkoidi ilinse, eda joku salasi jotakin. Monanteamun menisa hen oli documentanut 15 trox solutionsian liativia maxua. Jokin and reiditien iri asistin kata, ya jokes and eleker joidi iri liman tassen hivixia. Si joka sen perusti oli rakentnut konan I verhin, muda mirai metzistenet verhit, hen jatasi kavoja, yatese oli sormanjeljet, hen odad kuns no oli rukidu ya asitunut lastinutnasin and en qn astui Jackson and tomistun, hen I kapatanut, Jackson oli lakanut odatamasta side. Hen oli tirepuritinse aresalukamasa sopamusta, muda hedi kun hen neki hen kasvansa hen tyransi sen cien. Lurisit kurlisia kille, yalulan eda tajazan might he pilotavet sen, hen ogensi henel chalastitan rapportin, jokezela civila oli korstedet muistimpanat ya yegistelman akalamat, tarkistin jokezin trinixin kata reiditin tilin tyrantek nixilla, max hivixin et chilevet kaiki. Recurgtumainen muda tukiesmon joka kurd asama laditanis mika tarkoita eda joku ke te hamutanus data. Jackson lopti. Joko kopioidantai kopton olmasa olvinke tejin kurgtumista vart, miranirkesi, he evet varen et titoja, he lainavet oiketa kurgtumista titoja. Sixi tilan tarkistigen evet humanit side, kaiki nata penalta, patsieta kaikion valheta hen sana hilja, mira tarkili henin kasvajan tarkesti. I alat paniikia I percosta vain jonkan lisium and viamisen palin paliplian hoda hen I koskan halanut nehde valmiana, Mida haluet te de surovaxi, hen kaisi, Jackson najasi toxipane chulisan, tarvitsem vavastusta, tada stata joida ivoida kurjuta udalin tai poista. Jonkan sicilian tidativa enemin QNhi ovat myrnteni, yamina tidin mistel loida. Hen adi puhilemensi asoidi numeroon. Ava tarvitsen Vincent Harmonin jalon tapamanin humana. Pide renasti amupeve, vainmina yahen mira yamati, chuat henet ten, jas seketem henet henlopta kaikin, jas odatum lian koan hen keksi kanan tada mesta taranen, hen kats hente, olko sama milte, mine olan si joka kevali chalin. In eoparienti en white tea, hen I hymulet mutta jokin henen silmasin paymani, tidit kur hen san, usimet sinanasimsasi olvat I miset alisivet otnit palkutinya pelnit varman pal, miranasti kolmakarvajan. Nien no laxin olmusta usimet I miset sine pevene, kananun pulin lamenedu edin madonkor viketa pojulani atiskantelin edisi rieti, sine urn and mira isonat unta. Henistui kade irmparidin aeresa kenatava aki ya selili helix korin sisiisen vistentadistelmen varmuskopialoksha. Hen taisi olvansa lehile, ya lehile olmainen oli varalista. Hen oli nehnet tarpiksi taranoida. Ilmiantagia soljitu ulos taitoja paihidi hivia ihmisia joida hi olivat koskan vacutus voltezempia ihmisia. Ya silti hen I pelinit sida. She was afraid of failing Noah, of letting someone like Vincent Harmon take money that could have gone to research to development to employees to single moms like her who didn't get secret phone calls from billionaires. Half past midnight her phone buzzed. Still awake, obviously you should sleep, you should follow your own advice, we're going to get him but when we do things are going to get noisy. I want you ready, I'm always ready, I just never had backup for, there was no reply. But a few seconds later, a single message came through. You do now. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. sharp. Mira sat at her desk, her stomach in a slow churn. Noah was napping peacefully in the nursery behind her, completely unaware that in just a few minutes a man who had siphoned millions right under this building's nose was about to sit across from the CEO of the company he'd quietly been bleeding dry. Jackson had told her to stay in her office, but to monitor the security feed. She pulled it up on her second monitor, adjusted the angle to the conference room one floor below and waited. It felt strange being in the room but not in the room. She wasn't watching a screen. She was watching a moment that would determine the next chapter of both their lives. At exactly 10:00 a.m. the door opened. Vincent Harmon walked in with the ease of a man who believed the world owed him something. He wore a navy blue suit, tailored perfectly, and an expression that hovered between casual boredom and polite confidence. Jackson was already seated, there was no handshake. Mira leaned in closer. Appreciate you making time, Jackson said, voice steady. Of course, Vincent replied smoothly, I always make time for the boss. Mira studied his face. She'd seen that expression before in job interviews, in boardrooms, even in line at daycare pickup. It was the look of someone who already believed they were 3 moves ahead. I've been reviewing some of the quarterly financials, Jackson said, and I've noticed a few oddities. Vincent tilted his head. We've streamlined quite a bit this year, maybe too fast, that's on me. Growing pain. Jackson nodded once. Streamlined is one word for it. Mira could feel the tension building. Quiet but sharp. There's a vendor. Jackson continued. Try Solutions. You're familiar. Vincent barely blinked. Doesn't ring a bell. Is that facilities or security? Apparently both, and also research and legal. Interesting for a company no one can seem to contact directly. Vincent smiled thin just slightly. I'll have my team look into it, he offered. You or your team, Jackson said. You approved those payments for the first time. Vincent didn't respond right away. Jackson leaned forward. I know what you've been doing. I have the logs, device IDs, login footprints, shell account structures. You've been moving money through dummy vendors and distributing it through ghost pipelines, and you thought no one would notice. Vincent's mouth twitched. Mira couldn't tell if it was irritation or amusement. You've been listening to your new pet accountant a little too closely, he said. Mira's stomach dropped. He knew. Jackson didn't flinch. Her name is Mira and she saw what you were hopping everyone else would ignore. Vincent laughed quietly. Let me guess you two have been bonding late at night over spreadsheets and baby bottles. Mira's pulse spiked, her hands curled into fists under the desk. Jackson's voice dropped, calm, controlled. You're done, Vince. No, Vincent said, smile returning. You're done. The words hung in the air like a switchblade. Vincent reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. He set it on the table between them. You think you're the only one who's been collecting data. Come on, Jackson. You're not that naive. The board's tired of your secret projects and PR disasters. They're tired of your moods, your grief. You made the company vulnerable. I just helped it survive. Mira leaned closer to the screen, breath caught. Jackson's jaw tight. What's on the drive? Emails, messages, financials that look like mismanagement. That suggests you've been diverting funds to cover personal liabilities, which, by the way, we both know you haven't. But perception matters more than truth when you're on the chopping block. And you're giving it to me because I'm not. I'm warning you. You've got until Friday to resign. Quietly. I've already spoken to 2 board members. They'll back me. Walk away and I won't bring Mira into this. She gets a nice severance and a silent exit. Everyone wins. Mira sat frozen. Jackson stared at him. Then quietly, you underestimate me. No, Vincent said as he stood buttoning his jacket. I understand you better than anyone else in this building. You built something great, but you're too human now and human doesn't survive here. He walked out without waiting for a response. Mira closed the feed and leaned back in her chair. Her heart was racing. Her face felt hot and all she could think was one thing. They were at war now and Vincent Harmon played dirty. Jackson didn't return to his office after the meeting with Vincent. For 2 hours, Mira stared at the closed conference room feed, but there was nothing left to see. No movement, no sounds, just an empty table and the ghost of a conversation that changed everything. She couldn't sit still anymore. She printed out her report, the one with every documented transfer, every ghost approval, and every shell account tied to Trinox. Then she walked the hallway, heart pounding, and entered Jackson's office without knocking. He was there, back to her, standing at the window with the blinds drawn halfway, watching the city like he was waiting for it to collapse. He didn't turn when she spoke. "I saw everything." Jackson didn't flinch. His voice was low. "You weren't supposed to." Mira walked closer. "You really think I'd just sit at my desk and not watch what happened in that room?" He turned then slowly, his face unreadable. "I told you this would get ugly. You didn't say he'd try to destroy you." Jackson looked tired in a way she hadn't seen before, not physically, not just grief. It was the weariness of someone who had finally confirmed that the worst person he suspected was exactly who he feared and worse had the power to get away with it. He has the board. Then take the fight public and put the company at risk, the thousands of people who rely on it, the research we've invested in for years. "If I move too soon," he spins it, "I look like the unstable billionaire clinging to control. You look like the woman I manipulated to cover my own mistakes." Mira's throat tightened. "Then we find proof he can't spin." Jackson studied her face. "You're still in." "I was in the moment I figured out the math didn't add up." He stepped forward, picked up the report from her hand, flipped through it in silence. When he finished, he looked up. "I have one last card to play. It's not guaranteed to work and it's risky. Define risky. I've been working with someone off the books, former FBI forensic accountant. She's helped me track internal corruption quietly. But if we bring her in now, it won't stay quiet. And you trust her with the truth?" "Yes." "Then bring her in." Jackson hesitated. "This only works if we all play our part. She'll need full access to the logs, everything you found, and if Vincent catches even a whiff of what we're doing, he'll come after you." Mira didn't blink. "Let him try." That night, the safe house wasn't just a contingency plan, it was real. Jackson handed her an access code, a private residence owned under a subsidiary company located in a quiet part of the city, already stocked with essentials. Mira didn't ask how. She didn't need to. She packed lightly, just clothes for her and Noah, the laptop, the flash drives, and a copy of the report. Noah fussed when she moved him into his carrier but settled as soon as she held him against her chest. He could always tell when she was tense. The apartment was small but clean, safe, quiet. Mira sat Noah down in the portable crib, already waiting in the corner. Then she sank onto the edge of the couch, scrolling through her phone, wondering what came next. She didn't have to wait long. A message came through from Jackson. "Jackson, her name is Keller. She'll call you in 10 minutes. Pick up. Don't tell her anything you can't prove. She's sharp, but she tests people." Mira replied with one word, "Ready." 10 minutes later, the phone rang. "Miss Jensen." The voice on the other end was crisp, female, and all business. "Yes, this is Keller. Jackson tells me you're the one who found the break in the flow. I'm the one who noticed. He's the one who knew something was wrong. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Leave nothing out." Mira took a breath and started talking. She told her everything. How it began with a text to the wrong number. How she never meant to get involved. How she saw the same things others missed, and how that turned into this moment. By the time she finished, Keller was silent. Then came the response. "You're good, better than most auditors I've worked with. And if even half of what you've told me is supported by the files Jackson sent me, we have enough to not only bury Vincent but pull apart everyone protecting him." So what happens next? We verify, then we bait the trap. Mira was running on adrenaline and black coffee. It had been 36 hours since Vincent's threat and less than 12 since her call with Keller. She hadn't told anyone she was in the safe house, not even Ava. Jackson had kept it that tight, that contained. But inside, Mira was already building a strategy. Keller had been relentless during the call. She wanted timestamps, device IDs, access logs, emails. She wanted everything Mira had and more. Mira didn't flinch. She handed it all over. Every folder, every encrypted backup, even her personal notes. She knew what was at stake. Now it was time to draw Vincent out. Keller had a plan, and it started with a leak. That morning, Mira received a file-marked draft memo, internal realignment, supposedly from HR. It looked official. It said that due to upcoming compliance evaluations, there would be an internal audit review of all executive-level vendor contracts. The memo wasn't real, it was bait. The memo was loaded into the Helix core system under a path Vincent's assistant had access to. Then they waited. Jackson didn't sit still. He stayed moving, checking in with Keller, working through secure channels, pressing the remaining allies on the board to stall any vote of no confidence. Ava, quiet but loyal, was working two phones, pretending nothing had changed. Mira stayed off company messaging, logging in only through VPN from the safe house. By noon, Keller sent a message. "We got a ping." Memo was accessed 3 times in 2 hours, twice from Vincent's team, once from Vincent's own login. "He knows." Mira stared at the screen. "What's he going to do?" "We're about to find out." 3 hours later, Jackson called. His voice was quiet but urgent. "He's making his move." "What did he do?" "He submitted an emergency ethics complaint to the board. Claimed I bypassed finance, moved funds into personal accounts to bribe an external hire." You Miled her chest tighten. "He actually named me. He wants you gone first. It's his pattern. Isolate, discredit, remove. He's betting the board won't question it if it comes from internal concern." She sat down hard on the arm of the couch. And will they? Some might, but not all. Not if we go first. Jackson paused. You ready to do this publicly? Mira looked at Noah asleep in his crib. She thought about the nights without power, the watered-down formula, the kindness of a stranger that was never really about charity but about belief. I've never been more ready. The press release hit at 6:43 p.m. Helix Corp investigates high-level financial misconduct. It was short, precise, approved by legal. It didn't name Vincent Harmon directly, but it referenced forensic irregularities, misappropriation of vendor payments, and a full internal audit triggered by external validation. The same minute it went live, Keller's team handed their findings to the state attorney's office. 38 pages of documentation, system logs, verified approvals, and email threads that led back to Vincent Harmon. It was over almost. At 8:05 p.m. Mira's phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Impressive, Vincent said. I underestimated you. Mira didn't speak. I wanted to destroy Jackson. You were just a name on a report, an accident, and somehow you became a problem. Funny, Mira said, voice steady. That's how most women in power get noticed, by becoming inconvenient. Vincent laughed, a dry sound. You think this ends here? I know it does. He paused. You won't win, Mira. Jackson may crawl out of this, but you're disposable, always have been. She hung up. She didn't need to hear the rest. That night Mira watched the news in silence. Noah slept beside her. Jackson hadn't texted again, not yet. She knew he was somewhere, bracing for whatever came next. But she felt calm because she knew what was coming. And this time she wasn't afraid of it. By morning everything was different. Mira didn't need to check the news to know it. She felt it in the way her phone buzzed with back-to-back missed calls, in the encrypted messages Keller sent her marked read-only, in the way her inbox had transformed overnight from silence into fire. The Helix Corp press release had gone viral. Finance blogs, tech media, even national outlets were buzzing with speculation. A whistleblower, secret audit, executive corruption. One article mentioned a single mother with a background in forensic accounting who uncovered the breach. They didn't name her, but they would sooner or later. Ava texted at 8:02. Ava, be ready. He's coming for a final meeting. Private 9:00 a.m. top floor, just him and Jackson. Mira stared at the message. Mira, should I be there? Ava, Jackson says no. I say yes, stay back, but don't leave. Mira dressed carefully, neutral tones, nothing flashy, and slipped into the building through the secondary entrance Keller's team had cleared. She took the private elevator straight to the nursery suite where Noah was already waiting, his favorite stuffed fox in one hand, his juice cup in the other, babbling to the daycare assistant like she worked for him. At 9:01 a.m. she opened her laptop and pulled up the live internal feed. The conference room was silent. Jackson sat at the end of the table, calm, controlled. Vincent entered a moment later, expression blank. Mira watched every detail. His walk, his jaw, the way his hand hovered for just a second too long before pulling out a chair. Let's save each other the posturing, Vincent said. I know what this is. Then you know why you're here, Jackson replied. I'm here because you'd rather burn the company to the ground than let someone else fix it. You didn't fix it, you hijacked it, you bled it dry. I kept it alive when you were too consumed by grief to lead. Mira felt her stomach twist. It wasn't the insult, it was how calm he said it, how rehearsed it sounded. You built your whole career off other people's blind spots. Jackson said, you targeted me because you knew I was distracted, but you didn't count on someone else watching. Vincent leaned forward. You mean her, the woman you plucked from poverty and handed a desk like some redemption project. You think anyone will believe her over me? I don't need them to believe her. Jackson said, I have the data, I have the paper trail, I have federal agents who signed off on every piece of it. She didn't just notice, she proved it. Mira didn't move. Her hands were cold against the keyboard. Noah's soft humming behind her grounded her. Vincent stood. This is a mistake. No, Jackson said, rising slowly. The mistake was thinking you were untouchable. Ava stepped into the frame next, calm as ever. Gentlemen, I believe you've both said what you needed to. Security will escort Mr. Harmon out. His badge has already been deactivated. Vincent's mouth opened, closed. For the first time, Mira saw something break in his expression. He turned without another word and left. By 10:14 a.m. it was over. Officially, Vincent Harmon was placed on leave pending investigation. The board, blindsided by the speed of the evidence, voted unanimously to suspend all finance operations related to his tenure. Keller's team had everything they needed to move forward with federal charges. Mira stood at the nursery window, arms crossed, watching the city exhale. A quiet knock made her turn. Jackson, he looked like he hadn't slept again, but he was smiling just barely. You were right, he said, about you don't scare easy. She shook her head. Neither do you. He stepped inside. Noah spotted him and toddled over, hands raised, a grin wide across his face. Without hesitation, Jackson scooped him up. How's my partner in crime? He asked. Noah babbled something unintelligible but enthusiastic. I want you to take tomorrow off, Jackson said to Mira. Rest, spend time with him, you've earned it. And the day after tomorrow, he looked at her. I want to offer you something permanent. Head of internal audit, full autonomy, direct report to me, build your own team. Set your own rules. Mira stared at him. That's a big job. So is what you just did. She didn't answer right away, but the answer was already forming. The next morning, Mira didn't wake to an alarm or the low buzz of system notifications. She woke to sunlight bleeding through the cheap blinds in the safe house bedroom and the steady rise and fall of Noah's breathing beside her. For the first time in months, her body didn't tense the moment her eyes opened. There was no rush, no impending disaster. She let herself stay still for a moment, watching Noah's tiny hand resting on her chest, curled in sleep. The softness of it grounded her more than any paycheck or title ever had. By the time she made coffee and stepped out onto the apartment's small balcony, her phone was already buzzing. News outlets had picked up the story in full. Vincent Harmon's face was plastered across headlines in every financial blog she could name. Whistleblower exposes multi-million-dollar fraud at Helix Core was trending. Her name hadn't been used officially, but her inbox was filling up with interview requests, LinkedIn messages, and one strange email from a corporate publisher asking if she was considering writing a memoir. She wasn't. She didn't want a spotlight. She just wanted her life back. Or maybe for the first time to build a new one. At noon, Jackson called. "You holding up?" he asked. Mira glanced at the TV where another panel of talking heads debated how a CEO had taken down his own CFO. "I'm okay, just weird being the center of a storm. You didn't choose." "You did choose it," Jackson said. "You just didn't realize that until after you were in it." She smiled. "I guess that's true." There was a pause on the line, and then he spoke again, more carefully this time. "I wasn't going to say this over the phone, but I think I'd regret not saying it at all." Mira's breath caught slightly. "I don't know what happens next for the company for me, but I know I trust you, and I don't say that easily." She sat down slowly. "I trust you too," she said, "more than I ever expected to." Another pause. "Longer. I'd like to see you," he said, "if you're up for it." Mira glanced at Noah, who was trying to stack plastic cups into a tower that immediately collapsed. "I think we're ready to come back." The reunion wasn't dramatic. It wasn't slow motion or cinematic. It was quiet. Mira stepped into the Helix Core lobby carrying Noah. Both of them dressed simply, neutrally. A few employees nodded at her, but no one stared. Ava greeted her with a warm smile and handed her a badge with her new title already printed. Mira Jensen, Director Internal Audit. Ava led her to the elevator. As the doors closed, Mira turned slightly. "Does he know I'm coming up?" "He's been watching the time since 7:00 a.m., Ava said with a small grin. Jackson was standing at the window again when she entered his office. He turned as she stepped in. No tie today, shirt sleeves rolled, eyes tired but brighter than she remembered. "You came back," he said. "I wasn't gone," she answered. He looked at Noah, who reached his arms out toward him immediately. Jackson stepped forward, picked him up, and held him without hesitation. Mira watched something deep in her chest tightening and loosening at the same time. "You kept your promise," she said. He glanced at her. "Which one?" "All of them." He nodded, then offered a quiet, sincere reply. "Let's make some new ones." 3 weeks later, Mira found herself walking into a boardroom as the lead. Not someone's assistant, not the girl who stumbled into a job she didn't deserve. Not the charity case or the wrong number story everyone whispered about behind glass walls. She was the woman who exposed a multi-million-dollar fraud, helped save one of the most valuable tech firms in the country, and did it while raising a baby on her own with a bottle in one hand and a folder full of evidence in the other. And she wasn't scared anymore. The board meeting was short. Keller had already briefed them, and Ava had prepped the financial summaries. Mira's role was clear, direct, professional, concise. "This is the internal compliance framework moving forward," Mira said, clicking through a clean, minimal slide deck. "Transparent, decentralized, triple audited. No one, not even the CEO, can bypass it without leaving a trail." She didn't look at Jackson when she said it, but she felt him watching. Afterward, one of the senior board members, someone who had voted against Jackson weeks earlier, stopped Mira outside the conference room. "You did something rare," he said. "You did your job so well it made the rest of us look sloppy." Mira smiled, not out of pride but out of knowing. "I wasn't trying to look good," she replied. "I was trying to keep my kids safe." The man nodded. "That's even rarer." That night she stayed late not because she had to, but because it felt good to work in silence again, to run final checks to make sure nothing had slipped. The office lights dimmed on auto, but she didn't mind. She was reviewing a vendor log when a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Shouldn't you be home by now?" Mira looked up. Jackson leaned against the doorway, coffee in one hand, the other tucked into his pocket. He wasn't in CEO mode. He was in him mode, slightly disheveled, quietly observing, showing up without needing a reason. "You told me to build the system," Mira said. "I'm building it." He walked in and set the coffee down next to her. "Come on," he said. "Let's get out of here." She raised an eyebrow. "And go where?" "Anywhere you want." They didn't go far, just downstairs, just outside, just to a quiet street where the city felt a little less like a machine and a little more like something alive. They walked in silence for a while. Mira was the first to break it. "Do you ever think about how weird this all is?" Jackson gave a half smile. "Which part? Me? You? This whole thing's starting because I typed a number wrong." "I don't think that was weird," he said. She looked over. "I think it was the first right thing that happened in a long time." Mira exhaled and for once didn't argue. Mira stood in front of the mirror in the new apartment, buttoning the last clasp on the necklace she hadn't worn in almost 2 years. It was simple, a small silver circle on a thin chain. Her sister gave it to her before she passed. For a long time it had stayed buried in a drawer, forgot under unpaid bills and medical forms, but tonight felt right. Noah was in his new pajamas, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a spoon in one hand, and applesauce smeared across his chin like war paint. Mira smiled as she wiped his face and laughed when he swatted her hand away. She didn't recognize this version of her life, not because it was perfect, it wasn't, but because it felt like hers. For the first time in years, she wasn't reacting to the next problem. She was building forward. Her name was on the lease. Her bank account didn't give her anxiety. She had a key card that opened more than just opportunity. It opened a new chapter. Later that night, when Noah was asleep and the city had gone quiet outside the window, Mira sat on the couch with her laptop open. Her inbox had one unread message sent from a private internal account Jackson had created just for them. No subject line, just one file attachment. She clicked it. Inside was a screenshot of the very first message she'd ever sent him. Ben, I'm sorry to bother you again. I need $50 for formula. Noah's almost out. I get paid Friday. I'll pay you back, please. And below that, the reply, I think you have the wrong number. She stared at it, her hand covering her mouth. Jackson had titled the file, The Accident That Wasn't. A message appeared from him a moment later. Jackson, thought you might want to keep that so you never forget what it took to find your way here. Mira typed back, you still think it wasn't an accident. I think the universe is better at hearing people than HR. She laughed, sitting back, letting the warmth of the moment settle into her chest. After a few seconds, she typed one more message. You ever think about what happens next? Every day she waited and then it came. I'd like you and Noah in my life permanently. Not just as a team, not just as coworkers, as mine, if you're ready. She read it twice, not because she doubted him, but because she'd never let herself picture the possibility this clearly. Then she smiled and replied, Mira asked me again in person. A minute later, her doorbell rang. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this unforgettable story. If Mira and Jackson's journey moved you, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Even greater, deeper stories are coming your way. Don't miss what's